Welcome back, Mythheads. Just in case you missed it, the world ended on the 23rd of September 2017. It was supposed to anyway, according to David Meade.
Research scientist David Meade claims that an entire different solar system is on a collision course with our planet, overwhelming evidence that Planet X will destroy the Earth in 2017. Now, I don't know about that.
This was the latest in a long line of doomsday prophecies, predictions of the apocalypse or the end of the world. More on this particular story later.
We're all gonna die! Run!
The idea that the world is about to end might seem reasonable at first. Countless natural disasters, the return of extreme nationalism, rampant terrorism, the threat of a nuclear war, questionable leadership. Maybe the world already did end on the 23rd of September. Did we all actually die and are living in some sort of hellish, alternate version of Earth? Humanity has long been obsessed with predictions of the apocalypse. Most of these predictions stem from Abrahamic religions based on ancient scriptures. Whereas those are fantastical claims that have been wrong time and time again, there are also actual scientific predictions concerning the end of the world. Those are actually plausible and won't be covered in this episode since they're actual scientific predictions and not just urban legends or fake news.
I have goosebumps, people!
The Last Judgment is described by Christianity as a time when God will judge all humans and determine if they're cool enough to be in heaven. The Second Coming predicts that Jesus Christ himself will return to the earth to judge the living and create a new kingdom for the chosen few. Religion is so obsessed with the end of the world, there's countless Bible verses about it. There's also the notion of the Rapture, an end-time event where all Christian believers will literally rise into the sky and join Christ in heaven for eternity. The rather brilliant HBO show The Leftovers gave us an interesting spin on this story, showing what happened to the remaining people on Earth after an alleged rapture had occurred and a percentage of the population disappeared. There's a lot more to it than that, and it's just a really good show. Back to the Bible. The Great Tribulation is a period of time which is to be taken as a sign that the end is near. Fanatical people who have made apocalyptic claims and supporters of their wild ideas always seem to think the time they're living in is the time of Great Tribulation. It's easy to look at all the bad things going on around the world and say, yep, this ship is definitely going down. If you only look at the sinking ship from the outside, you're missing all the people working hard inside to prevent a disaster. Statistically speaking, we are living in the most peaceful time our planet has ever seen. Yet people still push this idea that we're all doomed. Most of these apocalyptic prophecies you hear about are based on those aforementioned religious beliefs. If you look up apocalyptic events on Wikipedia, you'll see over 150 dates predicted for the apocalypse between the years 66 and 2017. That's right, the world has already ended over 150 times. Other sources put the number even higher. Then there's a list of future apocalyptic events with at least 8 more upcoming dates. The Bible itself says that no man knows about that day or hour but God himself. Yet people take these biblical end-of-day stories and in some way of their own doing attach actual dates to them. Where are they getting this information from? Maybe God himself told them? Herbert W. Armstrong was one of America's first televangelists. In 1934, he started the Radio Church of God. Armstrong claimed that world events were actually biblical prophecies happening. He said that Hitler and Mussolini were the prophesied beast and false prophet from the book of Revelations. Doomsday was just around the corner. Armstrong was sure that his time was the time of Great Tribulation, but many of his claims turned out to be false. Armstrong said that World War II would involve every single nation on Earth and be centered around Jerusalem, and upon its end, Jesus Christ would return. At the time, his listeners and proponents believed he was an apostle and a prophet, inspired by God himself. Armstrong predicted Doomsday was all set for sometime in 1936 or 1943. And when his World War II claims didn't happen either, he gave himself some more wiggle room, changed the date to 1972, and started hyping up his vision of a third world war when Germany had taken over the majority of Europe. Fast forward to 2011, Harold Camping, another American Christian radio broadcaster and the president of Family Radio, a powerful, wide-reaching chain of radio stations in the US. He predicted that Jesus was coming back on May 21st of 2011. Camping was a believer of the end of times and the rapture. He prophesied that about 3% of the Earth's population would be taken up into heaven by a returning Jesus Christ. May 21st came and went, and Camping claimed that a spiritual judgment by God had in fact taken place, but the real end of the world would take place on October 21st instead. Before his death in 2013, Camping admitted he couldn't really have known the date. He vowed to return to studying the Bible in order to become a better Christian. And now, the latest of these doomsday prophecies comes from David Meade.
Research scientist David Meade claims that an entire different solar system is on a collision course with our planet, overwhelming evidence that Planet X will destroy the Earth in 2017. Now, I don't know about that.
Paul Bagley is seen here talking about David Meade. Meade is a research scientist, conspiracy theorist, and Christian numerologist. He's the man behind the latest spin on the Planet X story, which has actually been around since the 90s. Also known as Nibiru, Planet X is an alleged large planetary object set to collide with the Earth. Any day now.
Mr. Meade wrote in a piece that this system is, of course, not aligned with our solar system's elliptic orbit, but is coming to us from an oblique angle toward our south pole. This makes observations difficult, as the evidence is overwhelming. Seismic activity already this year, especially across the Ring of Fire, and locations such as New Zealand, Chile, Japan, Italy, is due to an approaching star system, and its intense gravitational pull will cause widespread destruction here on the Earth that will ultimately lead to the end of humanity.
Meade's claims have been making their way around the internet lately. He proclaimed that on September 23, 2017, Planet X would appear in the sky and the apocalypse would begin. Many fake news sites ran with the story, going as far as saying NASA admitted Planet X was real. NASA, of course, denied that. Although there are many planetary objects that are not yet known to us, the planet Nibiru simply does not exist. Similar stories about Planet X popped up on the net back in 2012 and 2003. When David Meade's September 23rd prediction didn't come to be, he decided to change his story. He's saying the apocalypse is now set for October 15th, but it's not Planet X related. Instead, Meade is now claiming that on that date, 7 years of tribulation will begin. Paul Bagley, the man speaking about Meade, has been one of the many people spreading these Planet X stories and David Meade's claims. What's his interest in this? Bagley is a pastor and actually yet another Christian radio host. He also thinks current events correspond with biblical stories concerning signs of the end times.
There's no question something's going on, and it's causing the outer core of the Earth to heat up, and it's also causing then this crustal displacement and more sinkholes. It just keeps happening. It just keeps happening. We're going to keep a close eye on all of it because the Bible says.
Because the Bible says.
In Luke chapter 21, verse 25, and there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea, the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, for looking after those things which are coming upon the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud, power and great glory. When these things begin to come to pass, he says, look up, lift up your head, for your redemption draweth nigh. Very close. The coming of the Lord. Or the coming apocalypse.
Coming in a cloud.
Apocalypse.
Yet again, fanatical people who make apocalyptic claims and supporters of their wild ideas always seem to think they're living in the time of Great Tribulation. People like conspiracy theorist David Meade and Pastor Paul Bagley are just the latest charlatans prophesizing the end of days. Paul Bagley loves connecting natural disasters to his prophecies, claiming hurricanes and earthquakes are sure signs the end is near. These are just natural occurrences that can be entirely explained with scientific data. Bagley has been making these connections since at least 2011, so it's hard to take his preaching as much more than fear-mongering. Faith is a powerful thing, and an indoctrinated mind can be a dangerous tool. People's motivations in stories like these are never easy to tell. With religion, most of the time people just really believe what they're saying. Everyone is entitled to their beliefs and ideas, so if you're proclaiming the world is doomed and we all better repent, others are also entitled to the opinion that you're full of it. It's important to add that many Christians did not and do not agree with the likes of Herbert Armstrong, Harold Camping, and Paul Bagley. Most are just good people living regular lives. While the truly indoctrinated do believe in the apocalypse, many followers of the Bible simply use the book as a set of guidelines or for inspiration. Some see it simply as a collection of tales and fables. People nowadays are more skeptical than ever, and religion in general seems to be on a steady decline. The truth is, the world will end one day. The scientific predictions of the end of the world are real, but most of them are so far away we can hardly fathom them as humans living on a limited time scale. We know the sun will burn out one day, but that won't be for another several billion years. There's the possibility of a supervolcano erupting, like in that 2012 clip earlier on, or an asteroid hitting the Earth, wiping out our species like how it did with the dinosaurs. Most scientists place these events hundreds of thousands of years in the future. Other than that, it's safe to say nobody knows when the world will end. There's no credibility to these sensationalist conspiracy theories that are based on religious mythology. If the world ends, it won't be Jesus coming in a cloud.
Coming in a cloud.
It will probably be a massive natural disaster, or our own doing entirely, like an all-out nuclear war. But to end on a high note, at least you don't have to worry about being left behind in the Rapture. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy our content, hit that like button. As we are a fairly new channel, your support means a lot to us, so please consider subscribing. If you do, make sure to hit that notification bell on our page to get all our latest videos. Thanks again, and stay vigilant, people.